Well, when we're rolling around in our supercharged Silverado, we definitely want to obey the law. Well, at least when it comes to both headlights burning, and one of them's not. That's a problem, but it's not a big problem because I went to rockauto.com and sure enough, I got the whole headlight assembly. That's gonna fix the problem. Well, come to find out after a little preliminary diagnostics, we're gonna need some extensive electrical diagnosis today on Tech Garage. Welcome to Tech Garage, presented by rockauto.com. Well, our supercharged Silverado's back in the shop, but this time, well, it's a winking wonder. Brian, we got a headlight problem.
Really, dude? We're doing a headlight job?
You think it would be that easy? No,
Never.
Absolutely not. We got new headlight, we got new assembly, we got everything. You know what we have? We have a short, man. Tech Garage fashion, difficult electronics, a short. I'm not gonna bring you something easy.
Of course not. You know what? This can be an expensive project to fix because people tend to throw capsules and new bulbs at it and bulb after bulb. All of a sudden you're out all this money and you never really addressed the root cause. So we need a proper Tech Garage diagnosis here.
Boy, you're talking just like an experienced tech. Root cause and strategy-based diagnosis. You gotta love it. It all starts with a schematic. Listen, on today's vehicles, you can't go in there and start poking wires. I hope this is power ground. I hope red's hot and I hope black's ground.
No
It doesn't
way.
work that way. So we got a schematic. I'm already ahead of you, Brian. And guess what? It looks like it all starts at the fuse.
Yeah, absolutely. And right here in the engine bay, we've got the fuse cover off. Here's the engine bay fuse panel. You just do a little index search here, and number 17 is the low beam right side fuse. It's a 20 amp. It's located right up here by these relays. I've tracked that down. I can see it right here, and that's the guy we're going to be messing with here.
Yeah, absolutely. But we can even take it one step further. You can pull up the schematic right there, and you know, we've read schematics here before, and just systematic approach, we can basically determine where the short is. And you can see it all starts right up there. There's a relay at the top, and that relay has two sides. On the left side of the relay, terminals 85 and 86. Well, that goes down to the body control module. That's the actual control side of the relay. Now that control side is going to pull that relay in over on terminals 30 and 87. Well, when we do that, that's direct power fed through your fuse over there, Brian, and then it goes down to terminal A of the light, and then B goes all the way down to ground. So what we can tell is that we're blowing that fuse, the one you said there, and we can determine that the short's located between terminal A and up between that fuse. So it's between me and you over there, Brian.
I'll tell you what, that is a fancy, very fancy way with lots of numbers, lots of letters, trying to track it down on the chart. I appreciate you, but out in the driveway, I'm not so good at that, I got to tell you. So what I'm going to do, pop this relay out of the way so you can see what we're doing. The camera can get a good look at it. Here is the culprit, fuse number 17. It's the 20 amp we referred to. I'm going to pull this guy out, and we should be able to tell it's blown. Sure enough, let me hold it there so you can see it. That's blown. So rather than throwing more bulbs and more expensive stuff at this, let me just take a few pennies, take a new 20 amp fuse, set it down in, and with these lights on, this guy should blow, and that's going to validate a short. So let's see what happens. Come down. There it was, buddy.
Ooh, pop immediately.
That verifies the short right there. So now we got some investigation to do and figure out where the short is in the system.
Well, yeah, we got a couple options. You can put about 10,000 fuses in there, and I can wiggle wire harnesses, and maybe we can catch it, but we don't need to do that. We got some fancy tools. We got a short finder, and we're also going to show you a driveway technique right after this break. More Tech Garage brought to you by rockauto.com.
Tech Garage, presented by rockauto.com, is brought to you by AP Laser, leading the way. Custom Auto Sound, the originator of classic car OEM fit radio since 1977. And by rockauto.com, all the parts your car will ever need.
Welcome back to Tech Garage, presented by rockauto.com. Well, our truck has a short. Brian, what does that mean, and how are we going to find it?
Yeah, absolutely. I tell you what, can be tricky to chase it down. It really helps to have the right tool for the job, and you got something pretty cool here.
Yeah, this is fancy. I mean, what is a short? We'll talk about a little bit later, but you got to get to work on the truck. So I'll tell you what, we're just going to actually substitute the fuse. Let's just pretend that's the headlight fuse.
Got it, yep.
All right, so I take that out. I have a cool little tool here. You can put some prongs in there, but this makes it so much easier for us. So that's the fuse. fuse. So what's happening is I'm actually going to take a circuit breaker. Now a circuit breaker is nothing more, I'll show you that in a little while too. It opens and closes when those amps start running too fast and it gets hot. So I'm going to click that right there.
Yep.
So now that's taken the place of the fuse.
Yep.
Cool.
Absolutely, it makes perfect sense.
Now here's the confusing part. What's going to happen is I have 12 volts going here and then it goes to the headlight. Well, instead of going to the headlight, I'm going to take that 12 volts and I'm going to go directly to ground. Bad thing.
Bad idea.
Amps run so fast to find a path home that it's going to create heat, and the heat's going to open up that circuit breaker. So if I go across this right here and I hit ground, bam. There's
You
a
get an
short.
audible cue.
And an audible warning. Pretty cool.
Super helpful when you're at home, you're working in the driveway in your garage by yourself, trying to chase down a short, you get that audible signature, you got a problem. However, most of us that are old school and not fancy electricians in the driveway use the dummy light.
Yeah.
Could be because we're dummies, but let's show us how to test with this.
Just as good, yeah. So I'll take this one. We're going to put it in place of the fuse. Same thing.
Okay.
Now the cool part is it's not lit. Everything's fine. But when I short it, I run the amps to here, the light is going to act as the load, basically as your headlight.
It's going to become the headlight.
It's going to become the headlight. Perfect. So I go down here, I hit that. This time, light's on.
There you go.
Wow. Guess what? Short goes away.
Yep, verifies a
off.
short.
You know what? You hook that up to your truck over there, Brian. You get to digging. Watch that light. When that light goes off, bingo, you found it.
I'll keep the lights on for you.
All right, well, let's talk about a short. We have a couple types of shorts, and if you go to this graphic, there's 3 circuit faults. The first one up there, well, that's an open circuit. Everybody knows that one. You open a switch, you got an open circuit. Nothing's flowing. Now, on the right there, there's 2. There's a short circuit and there's a grounded circuit. Think about copper to copper, 2 wires touching, and then on the grounded circuit is probably what we have on the truck because it's blowing the fuse directly. Think about copper to steel. It's touching steel, and that's what I'm doing on the board. I'm going from here to ground. Bam, direct short. Now, what's our protection? Well, on our pickup truck, we have a fuse. You saw what happened when Brian put it in there. Well, it was pretty evident. He went over here, he turned on the switch, the power flowed. So I'm going to make the power flow and bam, instantaneously the fuse blew. Now some circuits have what's called a circuit breaker. That's what our finder was. There's a circuit breaker located right here. Now what I can do there, the amps run so fast it gets hot, the little bimetallic strip opens up and it opens the circuit. So I can come over to this one right here and I can touch this. And when I touch it, you see that open up? Bam, instantaneously. Then it gets cold, it closes, and then it completes the circuit. That's all fine and dandy. Then it runs. So mechanical loads, you may have a big amp draw, opening that up, some things like that, window motors, seats, use a lot of circuit breakers. Now, last but not least is our fusible link. This is pretty cool. This is 4 wire gauges, smaller than the wire it's protecting. If it's a 12 wire, 13, 14, 15, 16, that would be about a 16 gauge wire. So it's smaller. So I have the big one in my hand and I have the small one here. So something has to give. We don't have a fuse. This is why it's so important that Brian fixes this car right and uses a fuse protected circuit. You don't want to put a big fuse in there. It's not going to help the situation. It's going to cause this. So I'm going to touch this, and when I touch this, what's going to happen is, ooh, there it goes, just like that, instantaneously. That's how fast that electricity flows through there. You don't want that to happen. I'll tell you what, the smoke clears, but let's check in with Brian.
Well, proper diagnostics when you're dealing with electrical gremlins, in this case a short, is to start at the source, the load, and work backwards. You're looking for any kind of obvious disconnects, bare wire, burn marks, any tracks like that. When I look at the capsules right here in the back of the headlamp, visually looks okay. I see the wiring harness is loose. That probably should be anchored. I'm a little concerned about that. But when I come up right here to the elbow, you can see right here, there's a crimp. And there's a copper strand actually hanging right out of that wire. It probably rubbed bare right on the steel deck of the airbox mount. That would be the short. Electrical power comes in, passes through, can't make it to the headlamp, is shorting out right on metal right there, a grounded source. So I think that's going to be our problem. Now, to verify that, over at the fuse panel itself, we've got that dummy light hooked up, just like we had on John's board. That's assuming the load. It's pretending to be the headlamp right now. So when I pull this out in this crimped, cinched wire right here, I may get that load to go off, which tells me we're coming back to complete. So let me try to wrestle this guy out of here where it's crimped. You can fight and pull a little bit. And I don't know how it got crimped, but it is absolutely cinched down in there, and you can see it. And so there we go. That is flat out damaged wire. That is absolutely the problem. So we've got all the appropriate tools right here. You've seen us do wire repair a million times. We'll heat shrink it, we'll solder it. John, we're going to get this truck back on the road. I feel really good about it.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Brian. I mean, you know, if you got the wire, you got the thing. Shorts are a tough thing to find. I got a fuse over here. If it's out, we can pop it back in. The headlights will work. We'll get that all buttoned back up. But wire repairs are huge. You have to go through there, make sure that the connection's good, the soldering's good. Just like you saw, it's easy to touch that ground. Bam, we got a problem. I mean, it's an instant short. So
absolutely,
go ahead and do that. You know, we got to go to commercial, but when we come back, we'll come back with more Tech Garage presented by RockAuto.com. Don't go far, man. We're going to do some valve lapping on the LS1 valve grinding machine for the pros and valve lapping Brian Gregory style. See you in a little bit. Well, welcome back to Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com. Well, LS lesson this week's all about the valves. We're actually going to take this valve and grind it on a valve grinding machine. The face right here. Here's the face, and then there's a little margin up here. You don't want to keep grinding until that's all the way gone. And, you know, a disclaimer, probably the price of valves, you can just go ahead and replace them all. Brian will show you how to lap them in a minute, but this is pretty cool. I want to show you how they do it in a machine shop or machine shop operation. I'm going to put it in the chuck right there and lock it in, make sure it's in. Then I'm just going to fire up the machine. You're going to see some fluid dropping down here, which is actually going to lubricate it as I'm cutting it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the valve into the stone grinding wheel right there. And at the same time, I'm going to keep it moving and bring the stone in. Now eventually we'll hit and you'll hear it start to spark up. So I'm going to go slow because I don't want to gouge it. There it goes. Okay, and I just keep moving it across that wheel. I already dressed the wheel. I already set the angle. Everything's professionally ready to go. I just keep going. Now I can take a bigger bite if I would like and just keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And what that's doing, it's actually cutting the face of the valve. Like I said, I don't want to go too far because I don't want to cut the margin. Then when I'm done, I'll bring it out and spark out. Shut the machine off. Then I can take it out of the chuck here. And I'll actually show it to you right here. You can see it, Brian. This is pretty cool.
Nice job. You got mad skills.
Yep. If you look at that right there, you see the shiny portion of it. Man, that's all looking good all the way around. Now that I know it's cut, though, that's kind of rough. You got a better technique.
We got to get it seated, absolutely. And you know what? Old school, old days, some valves, some engines, you'd cut them 30, 45, and 60 degrees. This is a straight 45-degree cut, correct, for the LS engine? So now we need to seat that. We've inspected the valve guide. It's in good shape. So we're going to take our valve grinding compound here, get a little on the finger and work it around. This is, in John's shop, called liquid sandpaper. So you're going to be amazed how this works. Get this valve upside down through the guide, down through, seat it. Now we got a really high-tech tool here. We're going to do this old school, folks.
Yeah, the cool part is all these tools you looked at, RockAuto.com. They got a whole selection of tools. Matter of fact, our engine stands from RockAuto.com.
There you go. You can hear very abrasive, substantial grinding. You pull it out, change your angle, reseat a little more. Keep on working that all the way around. Eventually, you're going to hear it get quiet. That's the grinding, the abrasive going away, telling us we've got that guy seated. So we're in pretty good shape right there. It's starting to get quiet now. Work it around a little more. Hear how much quieter that is?
There you go.
All right, there we go. So let's pull this guy out.
Now here's the beauty of
Wipe
it. Let
it
me
down.
see that joker. Yep. I'm going to hold that up once again. Man, you can see it all the way around, seated all the way around. That's pretty awesome.
That is
right?
awesome.
That's awesome. So
you
now,
could do a final check with a marker.
Yep.
Right? Look for tracking in
Let's
there.
get
You'll
to
find where it's
reinstalling this
touching.
joker. Yep.
And let's get this guy back together.
Yep, flip that over. I'll put a block over here on this side.
Perfect.
All right, so now what we would do is just basically reverse the procedure. I'm going to pop it through here now that it's all ready to go back in and our seat looks good, everything's in good shape. So I pop it up in there, take your spring, put your spring back on there, your retainer. Once your retainer's on, you'll come back, hold that there for a second for me. I'll take the tool, put the tool on, compress it, put the keepers in, and then we would continue to each one of them. We're going to make sure this head is primo. Stick around. More Tech Garage presented by RockAuto.com right after this.
Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com, is brought to you by Clamp Tight, the clamp making tool. Steel Rubber Products, quality crafted rubber parts and weather stripping. And by RockAuto.com, all the parts your car will ever need.
Welcome back to Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com. Now, Brian, go with me here. You ready?
Yeah.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Sensor.
Sensor who?
Knock sensor. Come on, man, go with me here. Hey, this Garage Ed is all about the knock sensor. What is it? What does it do? And how does the computer realize it's doing it? Well, we're going to talk about that. Knock sensor is actually a piezoelectric generator. It creates its own voltage. It's pretty cool. And I'll show you where it is. It's located here in the coolant jacket. So what's happening is it's stuck here in the coolant jacket. I got a little demo set up here. And you can see the piston inside of here. So that would be the cylinder. So I submerge it down in the coolant, and the piston inside of there starts to rattle or ping a little bit. Well, what happens when it starts to rattle or ping? It's actually normal. It gets up to timing, starts to rattle or ping. It's so sensitive, it senses that, and you know what it does? Retards the timing, it backs it up. So why do we have one? Well, real simple. We're going to control the timing perfectly. Well, I creep up a little bit, knocking, I creep back. I creep up a little bit, knocking, I creep back. So I'm right on that threshold of perfect timing. And here it is right here on the board. This is a knock sensor located right there. And what's happening is it's reporting over to the computer, and the computer then sends it to the electronic control module or something going on with the timing where it can actually retard and advance a spark. And if I turn it on right there, you can see it's sending a reference. Now this is pretty cool because I can come over here and I can tap this. And when I tap it, watch the screen. Now I'm really lightly going to tap it. So as I tap it, it sees that vibration. Vibration goes away, it sees the vibration. So that's what the computer's looking for. Now it retards that timing. And think about this for a minute. You know, octane rating in gas, that's actually the ability to withstand knock. So you get some 93 octane in there, you're maybe advancing the timing a little bit more because the knock sensor's not picking up because you're running that good gasoline, you're going to get better performance. So I go put some cheap grade gas in there. Well, what's happening? It's knocking, retarding the timing, it's knocking, retarding the timing. So what do? You push the gas more to the floor. So you get you some good gas, stop that knock. Now Brian's got a really cool demo set up so he can actually show it to you in action on the car.
Well, to show you how this works, we've got the Bluetooth connector hooked into the OBD2 port inside. We've got the big screen up so you can see this versus my phone. And folks, don't try this at home. Literally, we're going to simulate a knock on the engine. I can promise you that that knock sensor is clear up under the exhaust manifold, and you just can't get to it from here, not easily. But I'm still kind of getting over John's really bad knock-knock joke, so I grabbed the big breaker bar when I was thinking about him, and I'm going to put it down here right next to the sensor. And I'm going to wrap this, and you're going to see on the screen the knocking happen. Simulating it, keys on, OBD2 connector is connected. Here we go. Now, when you think about the crankshaft in motion, the connecting rods, the pistons, all of that mass and high-speed motion under there, it doesn't take a whole lot of knocking to be able to detect that vibration on the vibration monitor that is called the knock sensor. That's what it's all about. Now, what causes that? Carbon's as guilty as it comes. Carbon builds up on valves. You can get carbon throughout the engine, throughout the entire combustion process that over time can cause imperfections in detonation, in where it detonates inside the cylinder. All types of carbon tracking problems can cause knocking. How about spark plugs? Have you put in spark plugs recently? Was it knocking before that? If you haven't, did you have them gapped properly? Are you using the right spark plugs? So many things can be a culprit in this space. Remember the old days when the distributor, when you would advance or retard the timing, you would turn the distributor? That's what your ECU is doing multiple times a second, real time, to keep the knocking and keep the ignition timing just perfect. So speaking of perfect or not, Tom and John have a lot more tech tips for you.
Tom, I love to go to Rock Auto because it's got such a wide selection of parts and I'm in control. I mean, you got economy lines, daily drivers, high performance, but sometimes maybe I don't know which one I want. How are you going to help me there?
With the huge choice of brands and parts, it helps if you get some feedback from other people who face the same situation as you. They have the same car, face the same problem. If you're shopping for something like a tumbler, then maybe half a dozen reviews from people you can decipher and kind of get a feel for a good choice. But with all the different makes and models and parts, you can't really do that. There's not enough people writing reviews. So what we've done is we look at actual data, what customers have bought most often and what they've returned the least often, and those get the heart icons. So people they have the same car, facing the same repair, what do they choose and what do they keep? And sometimes you may not want the most popular part if you have special needs. Let's say you have a truck and you're using it for towing or something, then you would still want to go to the heavy duty section and get the brake pads or whatever part made for the heavy duty application.
Well, perfect. Yeah, we're building an LS motor, and I actually went on and I was looking at the hearts, knowing that I was pretty confident the part was good and it was going to work because everybody was using it. And, well, we're going to wrap it up with Brian.
And voila, the Silverado's ready for the road. Anybody can replace a headlight capsule, even a headlamp assembly. But chasing down a short or electrical gremlin can be intimidating, but John, on today's vehicles, it's a necessary evil.
Yeah, you know, nothing to it. Just take it step by step. You told you at the load, wiggle the wire harness, it may go away.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the LS project was a blast today. The valve grinding machine, just really, really cool. But in the old days, we lapped valves by hand.
Yep, knock sensor on garage ed. It's once again all about that balance, that engine balance. Well, speaking of balance, we're out of time for today. So, but you know what? We'll be back next week with more Tech Garage presented by rockauto.com.
Next time, a Mustang with a pulsating pedal gets the Tech Garage treatment. The LS lesson breaks down the best ways to rehab the block, and we explain the mystery of the O2 sensor, all on the next Tech Garage.